All right, go ahead. Go ahead and talk a little bit into the.
Oh, oh, my name is Betty Bendor, and I grew up in Smithville. I was born in Rockport, Missouri, and I have uh, my. We came to Smithville in let's see. I was born in 1925, October the 3rd, and my maiden name is Makings, Betty Jane Makings. And my dad was George Earl Makings, and my mother was Molly Jane Slim Makings. And uh, we uh, moved here when my dad got a job helping build the Jefferson Highway that was running through Smithville. And I think it went from Smithville to, well, St. Joe. I'm not sure just where all. And anyway, it was Depression times, and we were poor. But anyway, he worked for the highway department, and then when he got that was finished, then he got a job helping build the uh, Christian church at Smithville, the first Christian church.
Your dad?
Uh-huh. And he helped on it. Uh-huh. And anyway, we came to Smithville in 1926. I was about 9 months old.
So they traveled with a baby, huh?
Well, I guess so.
Was you did you have older siblings or
Oh, yes, that's what I was going to tell. I have two older brothers, Eugene, who was 13 years older than I was, and then Adrian, who was 7 years older, and then a sister, Iva Ione, and she was 5 years older. And anyway, we uh, we lived out on a farm, and about a mile out of Smithville. And anyway, I walked to school. We had lived a mile out, and then uh, had mud roads, and then it was cold in the wintertime. We rode a horse, and Adrian and Ione and I, and in the wintertime, we rode the horse, and we left let's see, the horse was in a barn downtown Smithville, and then we'd uh, pick him up when we got home after school and rode on.
That's so fascinating because when I went to high school, I'm from South Carolina.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we lived in a little town called Possum Kingdom. And I rode a horse to school twice.
Is that
And
right?
my children don't believe me.
Oh,
And I was like, the bus didn't come out to Possum Kingdom, and my parents worked. They weren't there.
uh-huh.
So I would have to catch a ride with someone. And where'd y'all pit the horses? And I was like, there's a stable out there. I'm sure the wood shop people did it. I don't know. And so you guys, how far was the stables from your school? Do you remember? Was it like a short
Well,
walk?
about a mile because we were coming into town from the west, and this was oh, I don't really know how to tell you, but it just on the outskirts of Smithville.
See, she had it worse than I did. Because I got to take, well, now I went twice, and I rode with my friend, and you were only allowed five horses at that time, and then everybody else kind of drove cars.
Uh-huh.
And but they had a stable out there.
Well,
And, yeah, at Woodmont High School is where I.
well, you see, when that was 1926, and cars were just really being made, and people were able to get one. And but we never could afford one. And anyway, there were no school buses, so you didn't have a choice. Either your parents had to bring you or you had to walk. And but anyway, it worked out real good, and I enjoyed my school years. I graduated from Smithville High School in 1943.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
And she
And
was queen.
well, yes, I was a football queen.
Yeah.
1942 homecoming
do we
queen.
have a picture of that? I'm sorry. Because that's if you ever find a pic. Wait, yearbook. Would it be in a yearbook?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We got to
Well,
find that.
it was featured in the 2022 homecoming
Yes.
parade. She rode in the
Yes.
2022 homecoming
Yes.
Is it in the
parade
sesquicentennial book?
as the 80th anniversary of the Queen. So
Wow.
there's lots of
Yeah.
Oh my.
newspaper pictures from that. And that was
Yeah.
just two and
Yeah.
a half years
Yeah.
ago.
That's so. This is something that's been going on for a long time. As far as like queens, did they have? Did they just do like the queen, or did they do a king?
Oh yes.
They did.
Well, now wait a minute. At that time, I don't believe so. Now remember,
In the
when I
40s.
went to school, this was uh, uh, World War II
Okay.
was going on,
Yes, I
and
gotta.
uh-huh, and so anyway, well, now what was I going to tell you? Well, just like in high school, why we didn't get to have a senior trip because gas was rationed and tires were rationed, and so uh, you all those all that money needed to go for troops and for the military, and so the same way with our prom, we didn't hire an orchestra. We had just a a Nickelodeon, and because we wanted to save the money for the troops.
So when you say Nickelodeon, what's that mean?
Well, it's where you had a music, you'd insert money and so forth. It was, well, I don't know, like now.
So was it kind of like a jukebox or
Yes,
kind of like that? That's
mm.
interesting that she used that term Nickelodeon. I have not heard that term in years, and uh, I totally that's surprising you say that because there is a TV network called Nickelodeon.
Oh,
So
uh-huh,
a lot of kids are going to like, what does she mean Nickelodeon? That was a form that it was like music that you
uh-huh,
guys
uh-huh,
that played like
mm-hmm,
on the
mm-hmm,
record, and
mm-hmm.
was
Yeah,
it the small little tracks at that time, or it was it the 6 track or what? Like they were small records. I remember. I have some still to this day.
uh-huh. And well, let's see here.
Mhm.
Uh, well, I didn't know. Back to oh, my mother's maiden name was Schlemp. I didn't know if you
We want
needed
that. Yeah.
a,
No. That's yeah. We need that
a
because it's
Schlemp,
we
and
always forget to ask.
yeah, of course, my dad's name was uh, Makings, and his ancestors came from uh, England, but my mother's came from Germany, and so and at that time, why the Schlemp was Schlemp. Well, then after uh, they were in this country for a while, I don't know why they didn't have the ch. It was Slemp.
Yeah.
And well, let me see here. We
And that was your grandparents or your
well,
parents?
it'd be my great grandparents
Great
that came
grandparents.
from, Germany.
Where
And
was the school that you went to?
what?
Where was the school where you went to?
Oh, where I went? Oh my goodness, no, it was Smithville. I graduated. Yeah,
Where was that school building?
my school building.
The
It was
old high school?
downtown.
Oh,
The grade school
okay.
and the high school,
Okay.
and I graduated from the high school that was downtown. But
Okay.
then the '65 flood
Yeah.
pretty well ruined it, and they built up on the hill then. And um, oh, let's see. Oh, yes, I enjoyed my school years. Yeah, uh, we had at first grade you had first and second grade in one room. Then you had third and fourth grade in one room, and fifth and sixth in one room. And that was in the primary grades. And then, oh, let's see here.
You played bridge, recess, lunch, you played bridge.
You played bridge?
Not at school.
In junior high, I thought you did.
Well, we did, but we didn't at school. We were junior high age. I'll put it that way. And we had a little bridge club.
So, like 13, 14?
Yeah, somewhere along there.
Yeah, you know what 13 and 14-year-olds are doing now? They're on the video game.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you played with someone in front of you,
uh-huh.
whereas now the kids are not. They're not playing with kids in front of them.
Oh,
They're socializing through machine, and
mhm.
so now they're finding that children have some issues, not issues. We have to embrace the change of time, but they need those social skills.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I love so much about the older generation knows so much because your experience
Oh,
because
absolutely. Yes,
and
you face to face, and
yes.
oh well. As I said, school years, I enjoyed them. Of course, I was almost like an only child because my uh, siblings were much older than I was, and but anyway, like the we had a train that came through Smithville, and I lived up the top of the hill, and then Phyllis Edwards lived at the bottom of the hill, and that train station was right close to her house. So we would play all of it. We'd play together, and when the uh, old railroad employees, or when they'd all come through, they'd wave at us, and sometimes they'd even throw us candy. But they were always just so nice, and it was fun. And same way we went sled riding in the winter. You'd top of the hill, you'd start, and you'd get all the way down. And I was kind of afraid because you had a hump, but it was fun. It was fun days, really was. And back to the train. I remember when right. Oh, they carried the mail too through, and they had to have. It was Mr. I think his name was Wiley Acton, but he had a horse and a carriage that he picked up the mail from the train depot.
That's right, and Mr. Upton, yes.
Uh-huh, Mr.
Yeah.
Acton,
Yeah.
and
I read a
brought.
little bit. just a little
Oh,
bit.
is that it? And brought it to downtown Smithville to the post
Wow.
office then,
That's cool.
and then just before the train was stopped, or was they I remember they took us on a ride. We went down to about Nashua, and then we got to ride the train all the way back to Smithville.
That's where I live. I live right there on the border of Nashua, but my office building, my office suite is in the Nashua
Oh, is that
building,
right?
but it used to be called the Highlander building. And I've been trying to figure out what was there before because there was something else there, and I can't. Well, I'll
Well,
figure it out.
okay. Uh, let's see here.
in the winter about the hockey on the river.
The wo- the
What's,
hockey.
The boys playing.
oh, yes.
They
And
play
in the winter
hockey?
time, oh, yes, in the
What?
winter time, the Little Platte River would freeze over. And yes, the boys, you see, there again, they didn't have radios and all that.
Right.
See, we didn't have radio or electricity until I was about, oh, well, some had it downtown, but
Yeah.
in the country, we didn't have it till I was about in the 6th or 7th grade. And we had kerosene lamps, and we had, oh, as I said, we lived on a farm, so we heated with a wood stove. So we had to carry in wood at night, pick up chips to start fires. But oh, that's the reason I've told the kids that I just love a furnace. I'm so grateful for a furnace.
Yeah.
And because when you come in the house, it's warm.
Yeah.
And before, well, you just keep freezing until you could get a fire built.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know my son-in-law asked me, he said, oh, when you're thinking back, what's about the uh, most, uh, what do you think was the greatest invention? And I said, I think electricity, because there that my mother washed on the boards. You didn't have a washing machine, and then she ironed with my brother's white shirts with a iron that was on a wood stove, and how you could keep from scorching them, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
But then when electricity came, we finally got a washing machine and an electric iron, and so all those things that just you don't you take for granted now. And but when you've done without them, you certainly do appreciate them.
So,
And
so what do you think about how fast? Like, do you think that technology has gotten like it just keeps getting more and more intelligent? I don't know if the people are getting more intelligent. I don't know. So
I don't think they are. I don't.
it just seems like it has happened so fast
Yes,
to
yes,
me.
yes,
And
it has, because well, even I'm thinking about the radios, or the your phones, because I worked for AT&T after I was married, and I remember the technologies. They said, oh, they were going to try to take pictures, and I thought, oh, they'll never get that done. Well, think now they take pictures and they answer all kinds of questions, and
yeah,
so it really has
yeah,
progressed in the last. Well, that was about 20 years ago, but then
yeah.
anyway,
It's
it's
wild.
yes, it really is amazing what they can do,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not always good. I don't think so.
I think some use it for nefarious reasons when
Yes.
something is meant, you know,
Uh huh.
yes, it's meant for good, and it's kind of like that whole good and evil.
Right.
Uh,
Sometimes it's taken too far.
yeah.
So, uh, well, let me see here. I'm
What
just.
about the CCC?
Oh yes. Well, now that is back
What
in.
was this? The CC camp?
Yes, the Conservation Corps. That was President Roosevelt, I think. Uh, well, as I said, it was depression, and you had a hard time just having enough money for food and clothing, and that's the reason you didn't throw anything away, because you didn't have any money to replace it. And I know when I was about in 2nd grade, my oldest brother had graduated, and he went into the CCC camp, and they got $30 a month, and they kept $5 for themselves, and they sent $25 home for the family, and that's what we could buy some food and well, pay rent and utilities.
And these were your brothers.
This, that was
Wow.
my oldest brother, and well, and then my uh, second brother went into the CC camp also. But
I love that. I feel like that's kind of like what America was built on, was that family security.
yes,
Like everybody, it was like no matter what.
well, that is true. Back then, like in the country, I mean, you really helped each other. I mean, your neighbors. You like now, sometimes you hardly know your neighbors.
Right.
But then, like in this area here, why I know my neighbor used to always, Virgil Connor always uh, planted a field of popcorn.
Mhm.
And so then he got sick one year and he could not get it in. And so my husband and his father and the neighbors across the street all gathered his corn, got it in, and so that he could sell it and get it, reap some harvest for it.
And to
So,
me, that builds, community morale.
uh huh,
You know, and some like that right there. Like we help our neighbors shovel their
yes,
driveways, and we ask them first, of course, because we don't want to frustrate anybody. But I've noticed people who are older are like, really, y'all sure? How much do I have to pay you? And it's like, what? No, no. And one of the questions on, I think it was the last question. You don't have to answer it, but
oh,
you have. So I'm Generation X. Okay, so
uh-huh.
so I'm 45.
Oh,
Okay, and I'm a youngin.
yeah,
And then my daughter is a Generation Z,
mm-hmm.
and then my son is Generation Alpha.
Oh,
And then your generation is not the baby boomers; it's the one before that. I forget what they.
World War II.
Yes, yeah, yes. And um, when was you're gonna think I'm don't you're gonna think I'm silly, but in the 50s was Eisenhower in office in the 50s? I can't remember. I can Google it later.
oh well,
Truman, wasn't Truman?
Yeah, Truman was followed uh, Franklin Roosevelt, and then did Eisenhower follow Truman? I don't know. I'd have to get my
I would have to
book
look.
out.
So, and Truman is from Missouri, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
he's from
oh
Missouri.
yes,
There's a museum.
yes,
So,
oh yes, yes.
Independence.
uh huh.
Uh huh.
And he had a farm, I believe. He has a farm too.
Right.
That I don't know who. I'm sure I don't know who takes care of it, but it's so fascinating. And that you brought up Truman
Yes.
during that time. So you understood like the politics and all that stuff
Oh
that was
yes.
going on because
Oh,
it was important, to understand what's going on in your world.
well, definitely because, as I said, World War II, and then my my husband left. I guess was dating him when I was in high school. I married Lowell Bender, and he went into the Marine Corps in 42. And yes, and he was wounded on Guam Island, and then received a medical discharge later on. But we were married in 1945, and uh, then, they had after the war. Then they had some advantages because he could take advantage of the oh going to uh, uh, for make a trade. So he was studying the for be a mechanic, but then the fumes in the garage from the cars made him sick, so he couldn't follow that. And so he and his dad built houses. And anyway, we were married in 1945, and we had 3 daughters. And my oldest one is Diana, and she was born in 1950. And then had Nancy in 1952. And then I had Debbie, who was born in 1959. And my goal for them was for each one of them to get a college education, because I always wanted to go to college, but we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And I did go to business school, but they all did graduate from high school. And then my grandkids, they all graduated from college and had a doctor. One had a doctor's degree. 3 of them had master's degrees. So I'm real proud of all of them.
So your grandkids are all grown.
Oh yes, yes.
Wow.
I've got 10
They're
great
probably my
great
age, maybe?
grandkids.
They're probably my age. Okay, yeah.
Well, yes, they are.
Wow.
Tim is what, 40? He's a doctor in Minnesota.
41 to 48.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
where do they live? Your
Well, 2 of them, let's see, Tim and Michelle both live in Minnesota. And Michelle is in around Minneapolis. And Tim is in Stillwater. And he is a surgeon up
So
there.
where's Stillwater?
It's about 15 miles
Oh,
from
in India.
Minneapolis. Yes, it's close. They're close together.
Nice.
Uh-huh. And well, then had
Ryan
oh yes, Ryan.
on the plaza.
He lives in the plaza, over the plaza. And then Jeff and my daughter Nancy lives south of Springfield, and she was an accountant. And then Debbie lives at Carthage, and she is a dietitian
Oh,
at
nice.
And her son's an engineer.
What?
Debbie, Chris, and Taylor.
Oh yes. Oh, and
Christopher
Christopher is that's my grandson, is an engineer. And Taylor is a speech therapist.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And let's see, have I forgotten
Those
any?
are jobs that AI cannot take.
No, that's well, hopefully not.
No,
Uh-huh.
no, you can't.
Kelly,
And then Kelly was
degree from seminary and in education.
yes, seminary and education. That's right. And let's see, what was Michelle's? It was in social
Social work.
work, but it was a master's. So she's works for the state of
City
Minnesota.
of Minneapolis.
State of Minneapolis or
Wow.
Minnesota. And anyway, I'm all proud of
I was about to say.
yes,
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm really proud of them.
I'm blushing just you talking like this. It's amazing just to see, even when your kids were, your daughters were growing up, even that, because that's when my mom was born, 1955, and things were a lot different as far as um, people interacting with people,
Right.
and when someone is a good or a bad person because you're around people, like you would play bridge with
Oh yes.
the kids, like
Uh-huh.
when you was an
Yes.
adolescent, and then your kids, and well, I did, of course, but it's important that you're telling this story for this reason here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
She went to college after her baby, her youngest,
oh, that's
graduated. She was in her mid-50s.
there's nothing
when
wrong with
she
that.
yes, I
to
did,
get her degree.
and I did get a
Associate.
associate's degree. Yes.
Good job.
Well, anyway, and yeah, I really was, and I still am a real advocate of
Doesn't
getting,
matter how old you are.
yeah.
Education.
Yeah, I went back to school when I was 33, and I was pregnant with my son.
Oh my goodness.
And oh yeah, and we won't talk about that. But anyways, no, I went back for 6 years because I was determined. Because my
Oh,
parents didn't have money,
yes.
to help me pay for school. My husband's retired military now,
Hmm.
so they granted me money,
Oh,
and so
uh-huh.
I was like, I'm not gonna let that go to waste.
I know.
But I
Well,
understand when you mean your family not having the funds,
that's right.
and I
But but we were on the farm, and I can remember that we would buy some calves, and we were determined that we could get a fund for them, a college fund,
yeah,
and we'd buy calves and then my husband would feed them out, and they were just set aside for their education, and then they'd have some money for tuition.
yes, yes,
So it really worked out.
okay,
So I mean, you had to sacrifice, but
yes.
it was worth it. It was all worth it.
And you understood that
Oh
because when you
yes,
were younger, you guys had to bring in the firewood, you had to bring in
absolutely.
water, and
Oh
so
yes, oh
and then
yes,
all that kind of gets trickled down.
oh
That
yes. Well, it's just when you've done without and have
yes,
not had it,
yes,
then you really work toward being able to get it. You want your kids to do better than you did,
absolutely,
and so that's what you work toward. You know.
yes.
Uh-huh. Uh, when in all this, you said any advice. Let's see.
To
Uh,
give to the
oh
uh,
yes, next generation.
yeah, most yeah, you can start at what age you want, but like I'm up until like the new ones who are just now able to vote and because I just want to know what your advice would be for those who are just getting out of college and or not. They may went to trade school. I went to trade school,
Well, yes.
and or they know hard as long as the hard work is what's important,
Well,
right?
and that's was what I was going to say. Advice is work hard and be
I
honest
get chills. That's good.
and follow the golden rule. You treat others like you'd like to be treated. And well, just be honest.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and because what goes around comes around, and I do believe that you reap what you pay,
Yeah.
and so
Betty, do you remember David Hale and my
oh yes,
Aunt Jeannie?
oh yes, I do.
Yeah,
Yes, I
I
do.
thought
David was. Let me see. He was 1 year, I believe, ahead of me, or 2 years. But I dated him for
Oh,
quite a
you
while
did?
in high
Oh
school. Oh
no!
yes,
So she dated one of your relatives.
Yes.
That's cool.
yes,
We need a picture. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
yeah,
I remember speaking with Lou Kindred and I had asked her because this we interviewed her during
yes,
COVID and she's a trooper. I mean, I'm all masked up because that's what the government said.
Yeah.
They're like mask up, and we're we have booties on, and I
uh,
was like, oh, I'll just go get in a bee suit or
yes,
something. And I asked her, I was like, do you recall the time of a pandemic, what have you, that kept children out of school? And she's like, yeah, polio.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
I had no idea. Why didn't nobody talk about that?
Polio.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, my dad had polio.
oh, really?
Yes,
Well, we had well, he was about 3 years older than I was, but uh, he uh, oh he was paralyzed. He had had polio and paralyzed one leg, and FDRC had polio, and that's he went to Warm Springs, Georgia, to help him, you know, cope with it.
yeah,
And
yes.
um, well, I was wondering what else I needed to say. Uh, or how much time? I mean, Am I
However long
taking too long?
however long you want. There's like, you
Yeah.
know, some people do 30 minutes, some do an hour.
I don't know how what time.
Some don't typically go. Um, Mrs. Was it Mrs. Porter? She
Oh,
was.
well, she probably didn't feel well. I don't
Uh,
know.
yeah, it just depends. Like sometimes they'll go. You know, we don't push you. We just
Uh-huh.
want to hear
Yes.
Uh-huh.
because that this video, you know, you could get it on the. I'm going to upload it to YouTube,
Yeah.
and you can take the video, and they now have where you can upload your family's legacy. I call them legacy videos.
Oh, is that right?
You can upload them on the United States National Historic Archive, and your family can watch it years from now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh my.
yes,
uh-huh.
ma'am.
Well, let's see. Well, I was thinking of a small town we used to when I was just young or kid. We'd had ice cream suppers, and a band would play on Saturday nights on downtown. And all the farmers would bring uh, their eggs and their wares into town, and it was just a fun thing, you know.
So you remember Dr. Spellman
Oh
then?
yes,
You
oh
do?
yes, oh yes.
Because so do you remember? Because he lived in the Patterson house. At Dr. Spellman did. I
Well,
think when he first like moved here,
he might have.
and then he built the hospital. I believe he. I don't know where he. I don't know. I can't
Oh,
find.
he lived. His house was about 2 streets over from here. Even if
Okay.
you'll go. Uh,
So then he had a house over
oh
here.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh yes, and but now I went to Doctor oh,
Hobbs.
Hobbs. That he delivered my babies.
Oh,
Yes, but
I don't remember who delivered my babies.
oh
Oh,
my. But anyway, it's just a town thing.
it was beautiful.
You know that you enjoyed it. That's all. And it was just a time of getting together. And then way back, Smithville had a town baseball team,
Oh,
and
I
they
didn't know
played.
that.
Well, yes, and
Well,
it.
Kara, you didn't tell me.
I didn't know it.
I didn't know about the hockey either.
Oh,
Because why is it that they were playing hockey when she was that adolescent?
well, it wasn't a organized
Oh
hockey.
no, it
It
doesn't
was
have to
they
be.
just had a stick and a
Yeah.
rock
Yeah.
and
Well, why is Canada known for hockey when you guys were playing it here?
well, that
Why is that not an American thing? I'm all about America
oh yes,
because of the grassroots and the family and
yeah.
just you know it's important
Well,
and that honor
the only thing
system.
I can think of is that Canada is so cold up there that
Yeah,
they may play longer and get started earlier than
yeah, you're right.
around here. See, it's just a
Yeah,
winter thing,
yeah.
and as I said, the boys played it because you had to make your own fun. Well, they even had a marble tournament for the boys too,
Wow. Oh, wow.
and because
And
my
and
brother played, he won a marble tournament one time.
that's awesome.
Hmm.
And also baseball.
Yes, oh yes, and that was a fun thing because they played. See, uh, they didn't charge you come to watch your town team,
Hmm.
and it was right down here. Well, they've built some houses around there now, but that was the
Yeah, so it's
baseball
probably
field.
like on the outside of where the racetrack used to be, or the Derby track.
Well, the derby track was over this way,
Okay, I'm
and
all
well,
discombobulated here.
I know, but the baseball team, uh, you well, I know the well, what would I say? Evans Bottling Works, you know,
Yes,
that's the Apollo House.
yes.
Well, he always bring his truck with the soda pop and to sell that, and I think you could get a bottle of pop for around 5 or 10 cents or something like that.
Nice.
But it was just a camaraderie thing that people enjoyed a town team and they enjoyed each other. And uh,
It builds people up.
well, yes, yes,
It says
and
sport
it's
builds people up.
uh-huh.
Did you go to the racetrack?
Well, no, now that was pretty much before my time. I mean, that was more in the 20s.
Okay.
And then it was gone about, by the time I was here or able. But I really did not know.
Okay.
But
So there were movies. You and Charlene went to
oh,
the movies.
oh
Oh,
yes.
can we find your name on the wall outside the Masonic
Have you
Lodge?
signed it?
Do you remember if you ever like carved your name in the wall?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. But
Well, we're gonna take you down there. We're gonna have you. We're gonna have you sign the wall because I am holding some of the original theater seats until we
oh,
can find a place for them.
Yes.
oh,
Yes,
Mhm.
and it would be interesting to know maybe if she ever sat in those seats.
oh, I probably did because trying to think of what his name was that had the theater.
Oh, do you remember? I can't. I have pictures of the gentleman, and
Uh-huh.
oh, I can't remember his name.
What were some of the movies?
Yeah, that's a good
Oh,
question.
my favorite, of course, was Gone with the Wind,
Oh, mine too.
and from way back. But I was a movie fan, and let's see, um, James Fonda or Henry Fonda, and let's see. Well, of course, second favorite was Sound of Music, and but uh, that was another thing. The theater, they would, if you could, it cost 20 cents to go.
What?
Yes,
Was that a matinee?
yeah, 20 cents. But you sometimes didn't even have the 20 cents to go.
Yeah.
So that's what 20 cents then was like $20 now almost.
Oh, yeah.
That and but it was a fun thing. They'd like I think Thursday nights they had like a family night, and they'd give a box of groceries away, or they had a ticket or something, and
That's nice.
and I'm trying to think of what his name was. So
I can't remember his name, but I have a picture. Mrs. Devers has pictures of
uh-huh.
him in his booth, and yeah, we have pictures and info on him and his family at the museum.
Uh-huh.
Marty Devers, she's the one who donated the theater chairs
Yes.
to the Historical Society.
Yes.
That'd be cool to have.
Yeah, I'm
She
trying
wouldn't
to
want
think.
anybody signing them, but that would be interesting because she actually sat in the theater. I'm going overboard, but that's just so because it's not there now. And when
No.
we first moved to Missouri, my husband he goes because it used to be like a mercantile, not a mercantile. They had like old stuff in the movie theater in
Oh,
2014.
Yeah.
My husband walks in. He goes, "Well, this used to be a theater." And the gentleman goes, "Well, how do you know that?" He goes, "Because the floor slanted." And he goes, "No, but he has no. The floor is slanted. I know this was because my husband is retired military. He just knew he's into history and preservation, and he always asked about those. He goes, "Well, where's the theater chairs at?" Like scolding these people, where are they at? Well, last year, we're preserving them in our office until we find space for them. And he goes, "Can you believe it?" He goes, "Can I sit in these chairs?" I said, "Not if you want Mrs. Dever to come with you." And he goes, "Okay, well, don't you got to go get something out the car?" And I'm like, "You want to sit in those chairs from the theater?" And I was like, "Just go sit in a chair, hun." And he just thought they were thrown in the dumpster. But no, they were actually people who preserved this stuff, and it really truly is important. Everything you're speaking of
Yes.
is important as people get older.
Hmm.
They need to hear, um, you know, I don't want to say elders, but the wise ones. You guys are wise, are so smart. You guys
Well,
she blows my mind. I can't even keep up with her. She takes more steps than me. And I'm just like, what am I doing? And she's just
well,
spunky. Just something true. I'm gonna be like Trudy when I grow up. I tell her that.
uh-huh.
I'm gonna be like Trudy LaForce when I grow up.
Yeah, I know Trudy. I see her sister-in-law lives right across the street, Priscilla. Yeah,
Okay.
uh-huh. And yeah, I can see her in-laws, Jack's mother and dad lived in that house right over there for a long time.
Oh.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
um so how much has the downtown changed?
Oh, a lot, a lot, because when I was about, well, I guess I was about in grade school. We had 5 grocery stores down
What?
there. Yes.
They ain't even
Y-
5 grocery stores there is now.
Yeah, I know. And my brother, as I said, jobs were scarce. But
Yes.
when he was in high school, he worked for Miss Lewis. They had Lewis Grocery and Camel's Grocery and Russell's Grocery and
1930s.
what?
1930s.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we may have to do another book
Uh-huh.
because I don't. What was the last store she mentioned? Was it Russ or what? Russell's,
Yeah, Ben Russell's.
and that was downtown.
Yeah, it was right on the corner of where now it's where see
I need to write this down. I can get it from your video, duh.
Yeah.
Because
wh-
that's important, but that's not in the sesquicentennial book. I would know because I put that book together, and I mean, it took, over was it 2 years for? Oh, that's important.
uh,
That's not in that book. It needs to be in there.
well, now I read it.
Morton's was dry goods.
Oh
Yes.
yes, Morton's. Well, and there
Wait.
were 2 dry goods stores, um,
One with the Mortons.
No, yeah.
Morton's and
Really?
Boyd and Delby's. Uh, it was up on the corner. There were 2 of those, and well, and then we had a shoe store. In fact, I have a pair of shoes that were from the Yates store. The last pair that uh, was sold.
Really? She has them?
Yes, she's going. I
What?
have them. They're.
You know, Vernon Stevenson worked there
Oh, did he?
yes, when he
Yeah.
was younger,
Uh huh.
and because I asked him, I'm like, Vernon, um, so we're trying to figure out because it was right on that like commercial on the backside. Well, it's kind of hard for me to explain because it's different now. Uh, but yes, do you remember where the shoe store was?
Yes. It's where Chops uh, the restaurant is now.
Yes.
It was right along in there. Ben Russell's was on the corner, and then there was.
What? I'd wear them. They're cute.
Oh.
Well, see, they were high topped, and
Yes,
they were like button.
I love it. Those, what? Oh, my shoes are outside. Those are awesome. I'm gonna have to get a picture of those, and we'll put that as a thumbnail. Those are
Oh,
awesome. And it was. Tell me the name of the store again. It was
Ben Russell's, you mean?
the shoe store.
Oh, that was Yates. That
Yates.
was well, it'd be Ronnie Majors' grandfather.
Mhm.
Uh, let's see, his mother was Hortense Yates, and she was a school teacher.
Okay.
And this was her mother and dad's
So
store.
the Yates
Yes,
Yeah.
Yates Shoe Store.
That is we need that information. That's good stuff right
Yeah.
there. I have
I
no
don't
idea.
remember years. I wish. See, if I'd have known I was going to say this, I'd have looked some of the
Well,
years
it's
up.
no. That's all I need because now I know where to go look.
Uh
I know.
huh.
I needed just a little push,
Yeah.
even though it's taken
Uh
since
huh.
what 2015, 2016,
Mhm.
and wow, I've learned.
Well, it would be.
Wow.
Now, I was so born in 25, so this would probably be the 30s,
Yes, yes,
something
yeah, but
along in there.
those I swear I have a pair of brown ones that look
Like
very
this?
similar to those.
Well,
Yes,
it could be. Of course, they had pointed toes, you know, and they
yes,
had a heel.
and I just now started getting into the pointed toes
Uh huh.
because
Well,
I never
you
liked
know, a lot of the styles, though, they
yeah.
come around. You
Uh-huh.
know, uh, what in cycles sometimes,
Yes.
you know, they'll come around that
Hmm.
they won't be popular for a while, and then after
Yes.
so long a time they will.
That that
And
those right there. Preserve those, daughter. Make sure you that because I have never seen Vernon talked about it all the time.
is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Because he said that he would come in through the backside of commercial and he'd
Yes.
go and he worked for them and
Uh-huh.
took trash at whatever.
Well,
And
n-
I've never. I asked him, I was like, "Well, do you still have a pair of shoes from there?"
uh,
And he goes, "Well, Mrs. Katie, I have one pair of shoe, and he would repair them for me."
uh,
And
yeah, that's right. We had a shoe shop
yeah,
down on yeah.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
it's so cool.
Well, yes, and we had a tea shop, and oh my goodness, uh, yes, lots of changes. And then, we had, well, of course, there was a chiropractor's office downtown, and of course, way before my time, you know, they had an opera house that was on the corner of, well,
Maine, was it Maine? And
let's see, it would be Maine
it'd be
and
across from where you, from your
the,
shop, your shop.
Commercial.
Yes, because it now it's the lawyer's office, right? Is that correct? Am I talking
yes,
about the right
yes,
place?
that's correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
yeah.
I
There
don't,
was a furniture um, company there at one point. I
yes.
can't remember the name, but
What was that, Yazels?
oh, I think
Yes.
it is.
Yes.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
think they were there for a little while when
Yeah.
they first
that's
came.
right.
Yes.
And
Here,
Yeah.
good job.
yeah,
I could not. I was like, it was there, but I couldn't.
well, and see the opera house, I just had heard about it. It was really before my time. It was more in the 20s,
Mhm.
you know, and but so I don't know much about it, but I guess they used to have a lot of shows, and it was quite prominent. I don't know.
It was no. I have found people from all over. Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, all over would go to the opera house. It was a big deal because then you have the racetracks, the opera house, and
Uh-huh.
um, Smithville. This was before you were. Well, this is like right when they brought in the railroad and everybody because it stopped originally. It would end here, and then before they continued on out to St. Joe,
Yeah.
and I guess Smithville was known for the entertainment district. I guess you would say because there was a lot happening. There was a lot of things to do.
Well, there was yeah, the horse racing, I guess if that's what the you know, I don't
I have it in like the Clay County. Somebody wrote a paper and they were discussing about their family and the family they did. I think they're still here, but I'm bad with names. I can't remember their name, but no, they still live here. It's like they rode on the train and for work, I believe is what it was. I have to figure out. I can't remember their names. So, anyways, I'm just so excited that you have those shoes there, and I'm just like mind blown here.
well, let's see. And I was trying to think of what else. Oh,
did you ever go to downtown Kansas City much?
Oh my goodness, yes, I worked downtown Kansas
You
City.
know they got that Ferris wheel down there.
Well, not that far. That's farther on. I worked
Okay.
downtown. Now, the Ferris wheel's not right downtown.
Uh-huh.
It's or is it?
Close to Carroll Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I mean that I worked right downtown at Main Street. I
Mhm.
worked Town Pavilion, and that was right down at Main and Walnut, and the Jones store was there on one corner, and Town Pavilion was on the left. And I don't even know what's there if
Yeah.
there's offices yet. I don't know.
How did
But
you get there?
I rode a bus from there was a Greyhound bus that picked up a lot of workers from the drugstore down here, and you rode the bus, and it'd go to Pickwick Station in Kansas City, and that was up on oh, I don't know, can't think what the street was, but anyway, and I'd walk about 3 blocks downtown to where I worked, and
I
so
worked at Taylor's with the fountain when I was in high school.
oh, uh-huh.
Did you work downtown in the '60s as well? I think you. I remember you saying something about that. Pretty sure it was
I
you.
worked at went to college at
Oh, is that what
yeah
it was?
yeah downtown
Hmm.
Kansas City.
So like how the West Bottoms has changed significantly,
Oh yes,
and because
So
uh,
the stockyard.
yeah,
oh yes,
Her husband would
oh yeah.
have.
Dad used to uh, uh, haul cattle down to the stockyards, and of course they don't even have them
no.
anymore.
So what
And
about St. Joe? Like
well, I don't know if they still have St. Joe. I think they still have stockyards up
they
there.
they they do. So did you go also hang at
Oh, he did.
in
I did.
St.
I
Joe?
didn't, but my husband hauled cattle up there after we went to the
Really?
farm. Oh my goodness, yes. After we went to the farm, why? Oh, I thought we'd starve, but he got a stock truck and hauled cattle and hogs for uh, the neighbors, and he loved that because then he got acquainted and visited with all of them and
Yes.
hauled their stock to the
And this was your
stock.
husband,
Yes, my husband, Lowell Bender.
Lowell
Yes,
Bender,
yes, I didn't tell much about that. That was married in
because
'45.
he was working all the time, like my
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah,
And I don't complain. I'm completely fine with it because I'm not. He's a man. If he wants to work, let the man work.
uh-huh.
Is what I say. When he comes home, that we enjoy our time. But sometimes because I think because he was deployed to twice to a war zone, and I'm just like, honey, uh, spring chicken, and he goes, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I'm like, you men just, well, I mean, from the men that have been in my life, my dad, my grandpappy, he's Hungarian. Work, work, work.
Yeah. Well, that's what the that's my dad. My dad.
Yeah.
You had to survive.
I mean,
Yes, you had to survive. Uh, let's see.
The Smithville Lake took your farm.
I was gonna add. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of research. I'm not gonna spill the beans on this video, but I want you to talk about what if you remember anything
Oh
about
my
all that.
goodness, do I remember? That was the little farm that we lived on when Diana was 2.5, and Nancy was born out there. And it is now where the county has their first the garage for
Machine
their
shed,
uh,
soccer field.
Oh,
uh,
really?
Machine shed and soccer field.
right, uh-huh,
Oh,
and
I have pictures of there. I could throw them in the video so people can. That's
uh-huh.
wow.
but that's when Nancy was born out there. And now, when I say you enjoy heat and uh, uh, air conditioning, yes, I was pregnant with her,
Mm.
and we had no running water. I had a pump in the kitchen, and had a oil heater. No, I had a wooden stove, and then I washed outside in the shed. We had electricity, but then
We're doing a video
I
on
was,
later.
as I said, pregnant with her. She was 2 weeks late and born in the middle of August. Oh, I thought I'd die.
She was 2 weeks late.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
The baby.
my.
She was supposed to come last July, and she was born August 11th.
Interesting. My son was supposed to be born August 13th,
Oh, really?
but he was born August 23rd.
Oh,
I'm sorry. He was
yeah.
born July 23rd. I'm sorry. He was born the day after the prince and the princess
Oh,
had because their son was born on the 22nd. And I
uh-huh.
was like, I'm gonna be her, even though I'm not British or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think might have some Scottish in me or something. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways,
But anyway, then back to the farm. Uh, well, now let's see. When we lived out there, though, that's not when they took the lake.
No,
Uh,
that was more the 60s.
yes, yes.
Was-
The 60s
was
was
it
when.
65? Is that
No, 65 was the big flood.
okay? And
Yeah.
then okay.
And then I can't remember the year.
Can you tell me? Because I ask a lot of people this, and like Vernon, he comes to my mind because uh, it's it's very humbling to hear how the community came together. After a lot of people want to hide the flood, and I'm like, no, you can't hide the flood because this is a community who bounced back from devastation. I mean,
I didn't know anybody hid.
oh yeah, lots of people try to
Well,
keep
not
it
the
out of
people I
things.
know don't.
Well,
It
good.
was a big deal.
It
It was
is,
a big deal
because
because we lived.
Yes,
lived it.
and that's a very important.
Mhm.
Yes.
Care, that's a very important. And I tell people, I'm like, you ain't stopping me from. This is this town reminds me of Possum. Never mind, Possum King. That's where I grew up at.
Oh,
And tell me how it was, bouncing back as a community and just you guys just hung in there. Oh, man,
well,
down.
we did rebuild the school, didn't we? And
And you were a teen.
Teenage. I was 15.
Oh,
yes, and well, and then the drugstores. Well, of course,
People worked together.
they did. They did. And I can remember, like the Christian church. Oh my gosh, it got way up in the church, and it was just, but it was a mess. And
the one on the corner of
right down.
Bridge Street.
Yes,
really.
yes.
And
It
you know,
was up in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, in the sanctuary. Well, in fact, I don't know if you saw the line up there on the building where it said that was where the flood got,
Yeah.
the waters got to.
Yeah,
And they
that
came,
would make
but
sense.
we were fortunate because we lived here, but it came to the bottom, right down here. It didn't make it clear on up here to my house,
Yeah,
but
maybe on
it was
it's
down.
God.
Uh-huh.
Trying to
But
help and
well, the community, there was the government did, supply some money for help for some of the businesses, but uh, I don't know, that just like you say, they just worked together and bounced back.
yeah.
And but I don't think ever. Oh, what would I say? There weren't the businesses that they used to have.
Yeah,
Uh, but let's see that. Yeah, that was along the
so
65.
did they make the shoes like right there in the shop?
No, not. I don't think
But they
so.
didn't get them from China. Nothing against
I
China.
couldn't tell
Nothing
you.
against China.
Uh-huh.
I,
I
obviously,
couldn't tell you. I don't know because
those are American made right there, for sure.
Yeah.
well, it is true that see we used we did have shops that mostly in Kansas City, but they made garments and they made you know like Nellie Dawn and but uh, no, it's been a different time, and the town's been different. It's grown
A
the
lot.
outskirts,
A
yes.
lot.
Oh, yes, mostly outskirts. But as far as downtown, the downtown area hasn't grown that much. In fact, well, since you've been here, uh, some of the businesses have gone out, but uh,
I think the downtown is a reminder, because the buildings are still there. It's not all. It kind of gives you that good small town feel, and but really, what the town means to me when I see Smithville downtown, is busting but people who grew this town to be what it is,
yeah,
and I think it's respectful that they have preserved what they have,
mhm.
because a lot of like in the South, I will tell you, like South Carolina, they're just now. Oh, they get rid of all their history, and I don't have a town to go back to because they bulldozed it.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
It would
no,
it. I did. My mom called and she's like, they bulldozed. We're down. And I was like, what? It wasn't as quite as big as Smithville, but tells you how
is this
small.
all being recorded?
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
oh,
I'm
Yeah.
not in there.
Yeah.
And you're part of that growth though of Smithville, and that backbone of
well,
future
there's
generations.
yes, yes, there's been a lot of changes, um, and I like a sense of small town
Yes.
uh, getting together.
Mhm.
I kind of miss that. Of course, that's the reason I like oh, the Friday nights in the summertime. I like
Yeah.
that. And,
Is
uh,
that in August? The hot
uh
summer.
huh,
Hot summer night.
Yeah.
Yes,
hot summer
I
nights.
would love to do a hot summer night. We would have so much fun
Uh huh.
because the historical society would do the car show, and it's a lot of work, and
Yes, it is.
but it's fun.
Uh huh.
It's fun for the kids because we had
Mm-hmm.
the original Scooby Doo van. His name's Robin Terry. He's a preservationist too. He brought up the Scooby Mobile, the
Oh,
original one. Yes, and he brought it all the way from Illinois, and we did pictures with Scooby, and people were riding their bikes, around the Jefferson Highway. It, that's good homegrown. That's American. That's
yes,
America.
yes, it is. Uh, let's see.
Did you happen to ask Trudy if she had any questions to ask her? Was she at the meeting? I don't know if she was at the meeting. She was. Okay.
Oh, well, it seems like
Well, that's it.
I
So,
think so.
today is March
March 3rd.
March 3rd, 2025.
No, March 4th. Excuse me.
Sorry,
March
Now
4th.
wait a
because
minute. Isn't that right? It's the 4th.
I don't have my watch on.
Well,
Yeah.
Tuesday, March 4th,
yes.
2025.
Correct. So today is, and give us your name again.
Betty Jane Bender,
And you was born in the year
1925.
1925.
I will be 100 years old coming October 3rd.
Oh,
Yay.
and you
If I make it.
yeah, and
I'm gonna give you an idea.
Oh,
Try and beat my mother's death. She died at 101, and we buried her at 102. So I want you to go
oh,
further than that.
I think that I want some of that Apollo water.
well, you think so?
Yeah, that my grandmother died of Lou Gehrig's disease. She's very young. She was 62 years old,
Oh,
and I I'm gonna cut this off. But let's see.